Well, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this little demonstration regarding navigation without a compass. Okay? Oh, there I am. I'm actually at my cousin's farm, which is not too far away from my house. So, and this is more for demonstration purposes. I know exactly where I'm at. I've been here all my, much of my life. I know pretty much the place like the back of my hand. And I just can kind of go up behind the hill over there to his house, and I know where I'm, supposed to be. Okay? Well, we know that our main character, Brian Robeson, is now moving in a northerly direction. And how does he know that? Because in the book, there's no mention of anywhere in his equipment that he has a compass. Now, to be honest, to me it would be unconscionable, and hey, that's a good vocab word. It would be unconscionable not to have a compass with you. Okay? But yet Brian, as far as I can tell, he doesn't have one. Again, he's more on what you could call a walkabout. He's kind of discovering himself, and he's learning to live in the wild. Okay? But in this case here, he's trying to, in the case of Brian's hunt, he finds a dog. Pardon me, there's this type of fly that for some reason it kind of likes me. There was another one that was like on my hand. It looks like a bee, but it's not a bee, and it was just licking the sweat off of my hand. I know that's something you want to hear, especially just after lunchtime. But anyways, again, to me it'd be unconscionable not to have a decent base plate compass. This thing only weighs a couple of ounces, and I can put it in my pocket. I got a lanyard on it, so I suspend it from my, I can suspend it from my neck or tie it on my clothing. I also have another compass I usually pin on my clothing. It's not super accurate, but it's accurate enough to where I can glance and, yeah, I'm kind of going in the westerly direction, so I have to go east to get back to my vehicle or camp. Okay, now, what if you don't have a compass to tell, to give you what direction to go in? And what a compass does, it's not going to get you out of the woods or get you out of the brush or whatever. What a compass will do is it will give you a point of reference where a particular one, you should know that. As an example, let's say, well, I know that's east, where the farm pond is. That's east. Now let's say this is in the middle of nowhere, and I have a camp up on the hill that's in the east, and I want to get back. Well, I can use my compass, which will tell me where north would be, and then using that as a point of reference, I know, okay, if I head east for so many hours, I should get to my camp. So again, a compass is more for a point of reference. It's not going to, the needle's not going to point your direction out of the situation. In fact, if you really don't know where you are, taking the wrong direction could lead you into deeper trouble. Okay, but here's two methods that I've actually illustrated here on my cousin's property to use the sun as a means of finding direction. Now, we know that the sun is at its highest peak at noontime. Now, this is something to think about. I'm going to demonstrate it, okay? We know that at noontime, the sun is at its highest point. And if it creates a shadow, that shadow will point directly north. And I'll give you an example. Let's look at this spot right here, okay? I have a piece of bamboo, which is not native to this area, but I just stuck it in the ground, and I put pieces here. Now, notice that about every 15, 20 minutes, I would mark where the end of the shadow was. You notice it's going in a little bit of a circle, all right? But then now it's starting to go back up. This is the shortest point. So if I face this direction, and I think you can kind of see my cousin's property up there. All right, if I face this direction, I'm facing directly north. Okay, because again, the shadow is starting to become shorter as the sun arcs across the horizon. Now, this takes a long time, believe it or not. Each space between there is a good 20 minutes. So I've been out here for quite some time doing this experiment to show how it works, okay? Now, there's another method that you can use, all right? And it's kind of similar to that, all right? I just wanted to put up another one to show the same thing. And I put a string around it. I made an arc with that piece of bamboo, and then again, off of the arc, I'm making points, and the shortest point off of the arc should be pretty much directly due north, okay? And these here are actually about the same, and it's starting to go in this direction here, all right? Now that string is on that one particular piece of bamboo spike, for lack of a better term, and that's where the shadow was at its shortest point. And now you can see that the shadow is starting to get longer. So if I drew a line, you'll find that at where that string is, that's going to be the shortest point. Now, how do we know it's the shortest point? Well, you have to kind of eyeball it in a way. So again, if you're in a wild area and you really don't know where you're, like you want to find, direction, this is just like one good method, using the shadow stick method. And to show that it is accurate, okay, there's my compass. And that shortest shadow is pointing north. Now, it's about 1:21, so you can see that it takes a long time for the sun to move, so to speak. It's really not the sun moving, it's the earth. But for lack of a better term, we're going to consider the sun moving across the horizon when it's actually the earth turning, and it gives the appearance of the sun moving, okay? And also, you notice I have a piece of parachute cord. I always have some parachute cord in my survival pack, along with my nice Swedish-made axe. Comes in very handy, okay? So, we know this is just one method. Now, at that point, the shortest point was about 12:45. Yet you're going to say, Mr. W, you said that noontime is the shortest point. Well, don't forget, we're talking about what is called solar noon, and it varies slightly. Don't forget that we also have daylight savings time. If we didn't have daylight savings time, the solar noon would actually be 11:45 a.m. And it also is dependent on latitude. We're approximately 42.5 to 42.7 degrees north of the equator. So what that basically means is that the time is going to be a little bit different. When you get to the Tropic of Capricorn and the Tropic of Cancer, in other words, when you get below 20 degrees north, and if you're between 20 degrees north and 20 degrees south in the equator, in that band of the Earth, solar noon is going to be like right at noontime. But the further north you go, it's going to vary slightly depending on the time of year and your latitude. And it just so happens to be here, it's actually like 15 minutes off from noon. And again, it's actually an hour and 15 minutes off because we use what is called daylight savings time. So that's why solar noon is actually 12:45 instead of, it should be 11:45. And then come November, it will be, closer to what is called true solar noon. Okay? I just want you guys to be aware of that simple fact. So again over here, I got stuck with a piece of bamboo and it's like a little needle in my flesh. Okay? But like I said, just showing this point here, this stick was at its shortest point, and again, using the compass, just to show that I'm not lying. Okay. And now some of you guys are saying, wait a minute, the compass needle is off. What's going on here? Okay. Well, It's off by 10 degrees because magnetic north and true north are hundreds of miles apart. So there is a slight angle. It's called declination. And if you want to use this with a map and be accurate, you have to take in consideration declination. And where I'm at on this place in the United States, it's 10 degrees to the west. So it's negative 10 degrees from 0 or 360. So I have to offset. I have the needle pointing at 350, and the true north will be in line with the shortest point on these sticks. So again, this is just one simple technique of finding direction. There are others, more anecdotal, and I might do that at another time when I do have time. In fact, I'll see if I can do it this evening. I'll try and do some anecdotal direction finding. Okay, so on that note, we're going to say goodbye to the farm, and hopefully you'll participate, and we'll see you